Most people who create a digital product make one critical mistake, and it's the reason their products never sell. In this video, I'm going to count down the 5 biggest mistakes people make, ending with the number 1 mistake you want to avoid. And stick with me until the end because I'll also share a bonus section that covers what you should be doing instead, including the tool that I've been using since day 1 to sell my own digital products without even building a website. If we haven't met yet, I'm Kristen. I've spent more than 30 years in marketing, and at 53, I finally stopped dreaming and started creating digital products myself. And what I learned along the way is that it's not about hustling harder or being everywhere online. It's about building the right thing the right way from the very beginning. And that's what this video is about. By the end, you'll not only know the mistakes to avoid, you'll also know the smart moves that will actually help you build a digital product business on nights and weekends without quitting your job. And if you want more content like this, practical, realistic strategies for building something of your own, go ahead and hit like and subscribe now so you don't miss future videos. All right, let's get into it. All right, mistake number 5. Thinking you have to be on Instagram to build an audience. Let's start here because this is the one I see trip people up almost immediately. There's this pressure to believe you have to be on Instagram if you want to grow an audience, because that's what all the advice online says, right? Post 3 reels a day, show up on stories, hop on every new trend. But here's the thing. If you're someone who doesn't love showing up that way, or if it doesn't feel natural to you, it's not going to work. Because your audience doesn't just want more content, they want connection. And connection comes from showing up in a way that feels like you. That doesn't mean you should hide behind faceless marketing. Sure, that can get attention, but people buy from people. They want to hear your voice, your stories, your perspective. The mistake here isn't Instagram in and of itself. It's forcing yourself onto a platform that doesn't fit you. What works so much better is choosing the place where you feel comfortable being consistent. For me, that turned out to be YouTube. For you, it might be Pinterest or a podcast or even an email newsletter. The lesson? Build your audience where you can show up as yourself. That's what creates connection, and connection is what leads to sales. All right, mistake number 4, overcomplicating the format. The next mistake is thinking your product has to be huge and complicated to be valuable. I can't tell you how many times I've seen people stall out because they think they need a full-blown online course with dozens of videos, or a membership site with constant updates, or some tech-heavy funnel before they can even begin. And what happens? They spend months building, they get overwhelmed, and most of them never launch. The truth is, your first product doesn't need to be fancy. It doesn't need to be big. It just needs to solve a problem. And some of the most successful products that I've seen are simple: a pack of scripts, a short audio guide, a 1-hour workshop. So if you've been waiting because you think your product has to be something massive, that's the mistake. Start small, solve one problem, and launch. You can always expand it later. All right, mistake number 3, designing instead of selling. Now, let's talk about one of the sneakiest mistakes, and that's spending all of your time designing instead of actually selling. This looks like spending weeks tweaking your logo, obsessing over colors and fonts, perfecting your website before you've even decided what you're selling. And listen, I get it. That stuff feels productive. It feels like you're moving forward. But here's the truth. None of that matters if you don't have buyers. So your logo doesn't build trust. Your website design doesn't generate revenue. Value does. Solutions do. Products people actually want do. Now, don't get me wrong. Branding has its place. But if you spend all your time polishing the surface and never put something out into the world, you don't have a business. You have a really nice looking project. If this is hitting a little close to home, it's because I've been there too. I've spent more hours than I'd like to admit working on the look of things, while the more important tasks like creating, sharing, and selling sat untouched. So don't make the mistake of designing instead of selling. Focus on what actually gets your product into people's hands. Now, mistake number 2, creating in isolation. The next mistake is building your product in a vacuum, creating an isolation without involving your audience. This usually happens when people think they have to show up finished. They disappear for months while they build, and then they pop back up with a product hoping that people will buy it. But if your audience hasn't been part of the journey, if you haven't been sharing ideas, testing concepts, or listening to feedback, you might be building the wrong thing. This is why I always encourage people to start by sharing what they know for free. Write posts, send emails, make videos, see what resonates with your audience. Pay attention to the questions that you get asked over and over again. Because when you share and interact along the way, you're not just creating a product, you're creating demand for that product before it even exists. So don't build in isolation. Build in conversation. Make sure that what you're creating is actually what people want. And mistake number 1, building without a buyer in mind. And here it is, the number 1 mistake that people make with digital products. Building without a buyer in mind. This one kills more digital products than anything else. And here's what it looks like. You come up with an idea that you love, you put weeks or months into building it, and then you launch only to hear crickets because you built what you wanted to make and not what your audience wanted to buy. I know this mistake all too well because I made it myself. When I first started, I wrote a book for small business owners about using email marketing to grow. And while I believed in it, I didn't stop to validate whether that was the best place for me to start. And it didn't land the way I hoped. It wasn't until I pivoted to teaching about email marketing on YouTube that things started to click. That's where I discovered my people. The quietly ambitious ones who didn't want to live on Instagram, who weren't looking for flashy hacks, but who wanted approachable ways to use digital marketing to build something of their own. And that's when I realized that the product doesn't matter unless you build it for someone who actually needs it. So if you're thinking about creating a digital product, don't start with your idea, start with your buyer. Who are they? What problem are they facing? What's keeping them up at night? That's the difference between a product that collects dust and a product that sells. All right, I promised you a bonus section, so let's talk about what you should be doing instead. Number 1, start with your audience's problem. Don't build from your ideas outward, build from their pain point inward. That's where the best products come from. Number 2, choose a platform where you can show up authentically. If Instagram drains you, don't force it. Maybe your place is YouTube or a podcast or even a weekly email newsletter. What matters is showing up consistently in a way that feels true to you. Number 3, prioritize momentum over perfection. Your first product doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be real. Done is better than perfect because done builds confidence and creates proof of concept. Number 4, skip building a website at first. This one's big. You don't need to spend months learning WordPress or paying for an expensive site before you can sell. I have been using Stan since day 1 of my business, and I recommend it to anyone that's just starting out. With Stan, you can create and sell digital products, set up email collection, and manage your whole business from one dashboard, even from your phone. I'll put my affiliate link in the description if you want to check it out. Those 4 steps alone will put you ahead of most people who get stuck in the mistakes we just covered. Now, if you want to dive deeper into how to actually build a passive income system that works, not just the product, but also validation, traffic, and automation, I've put together a playlist that walks you through the 5 things every passive income system needs. I'll link it here and in the description. All right, so we said the mistakes to avoid: thinking you have to be on Instagram, overcomplicating the format, designing instead of selling, creating in isolation, and the big one, building without a buyer in mind. Avoid those and focus instead on solving real problems, showing up as yourself, building momentum, and keeping things simple. You don't need to hustle. You don't need perfection. You just need to take the right next step. All right, here's to your success. I'll see you next week. If this saved you time or gave you clarity, please hit like and subscribe. I've got a lot more videos coming and they're all made with you in mind.